Keri Ford, welcome to the More Alive podcast. I am so excited to have you as a guest. You guys, I know that we've just come out of a growth season, and I mean that internally, and we're all just low key, okay, I've done the work. Now I want to enjoy the fruits of my labor. I want to harvest. I want to harvest season, dear God. And, one of the things that I love about you, Keri, is that you always prioritize the nervous system first. You and I share that as a non-negotiable core value. You're trauma informed, but you're also a really brilliant businesswoman. And a lot of women go to you. A lot of really high profile, powerful women go to you for support in growing their companies. And so today, let's talk about shit that's actually working. But before we do that, I just want to get everybody excited for what's to come. Before we do that, I don't know a single person who does anything through the lens of the nervous system and being trauma informed that didn't need to inform their own trauma before before they became the go-to person for this. So I just want to help my audience get to know a little bit about you and why you are one of the top women in your field to go to for this level of support.
Yeah. Well, I first want to talk about the difference actually between trauma informed and trauma trained. So I'm actually trauma trained. And there is a big difference for those that maybe are newer to the space of the nervous system, or they've heard of somatic work. And I love that people are so interested in this and it's taking off and becoming more mainstream. But it's similar to like the gluten-free craze.
Yeah.
So it's like where people would marketers would start putting gluten-free on like an apple.
Yeah.
You're like, an apple's already inherently gluten-free. Like, what?
Yeah.
But then it would catch people's eye because it's a buzzword. So trauma-informed means that someone, a coach usually, is informed of trauma. It means that they understand that you have trauma, or they can understand that what you're bringing comes through a lived and perceived lens, right? That makes sense. They're not equipped, though, to renegotiate trauma or literally rewire it because they're not trained to track. And what I mean by that is track the nervous system. So there's a certain skill set that I'm trained. It's in Dr. Peter Levine's program. It's a 3-year program called Somatic Experiencing through the Trauma Institute. And essentially, we are trained as practitioners alongside psychotherapists and social workers and other people that are in the mental health field to track the nervous system, but also rewire to help the nervous system expand what we call capacity within the window of tolerance, to help, regulate and really work with the unique nervous system in front of us. And so that's a pretty big difference between informed and trained. So for those of you that are new, just to give you a little, if you're doing homework on someone, just ask them, where did you get your training? Are you informed or are you trained? It may not be a deal breaker, but just understand, right, the scope of work.
That's a great distinction. Just know what you're looking for and make sure that person is qualified. Yeah.
Totally. And again, there are some amazing coaches out there who are trauma informed, and they may be exactly what you're looking for, and they can help with transformation and all kinds of things. So, it just depends on what you're looking for and what matters and what you're bringing into that container. Right. So I'm trauma trained. And back in 2022, I had the sense that there were a lot of healing spaces and there were a lot of mastermind strategy spaces, but I didn't see a lot happening at the crossroad of both, because one without the other to me is incomplete and insufficient. We can heal, but we don't want to heal just for healing's sake, because what the fuck is it for? And so that's where applied somatics, I'll call it, and the somatic success method was born, where we bring both the what looks good on paper to the felt sense experience inside. So it's not just success that looks good, it's success that feels good. So you can be present with your kids so that when you hit that $1 million or multi-million-dollar mark, you don't look at your bank account and despite seeing lots of high numbers in there, still freak out inside and feel like it's not enough. Like you can't take your foot off the gas pedal. And so those are the behaviors and patterns that we take a look at that crossroad.
I love it. Tell us a little bit about little Keri. How did you even get into this work? Why do you care? How are you here?
You know what's so wild? I had this moment, I guess it was back in October. I was putting together a workbook in Canva, and it was for our luxury retreat in Grenada. We took everyone down to South America for a luxury retreat and rented out this, by the way, you would have loved it because it was just it was such a vibe, full-time staff, you want a hard-boiled egg at 6 a.m., it's coming to your room.
Hell yeah.
You want almond milk sugar-free latte done. Like, it was so amazing. It was just beautiful. And I had this AP biology teacher in high school because I've always been a science nerd. I've also always been an artist. And she said, you should illustrate science books. And I was like, well, golly gee, I'm doing it right now. This is so weird. Like, Mrs. Miller was right. I am illustrating like IP for all of our programs, and we bring in the science, the neuroscience, the somatic component, the sensory experience of this work. And I'm like, I'm doing it. So I've always been creative. I've always been very intuitive, which got confusing to me in, I would say, middle school and high school because it made me feel weird. And I didn't really know what to do with that. And I often just felt like I didn't belong in any circle, really. And so I would try to blend in. I would try to be like other people in a way that made me feel like I wasn't being too much or too weird. Like, almost like I'd be found out for being just the spirited, connected person. And so I think that intuition was actually shut down for a little while. And it took me until my divorce to have a complete spiritual awakening and to learn how to listen to it again. So I think I've always been this way, creative, spirited, intuitive. And that's really kind of a baseline requirement, turns out, for doing nervous system work, is you use your nervous system as one of the tools in healing. So it was always meant to be. It just took me a little bit of time to arrive
And
here.
the dichotomy between the science nerd and the artist it's cool.
And the cheerleader, I was like, I'm the juxtaposition. Like, what do we do with this? I don't belong in
at
any
the
group.
corner of all crossroads. You're just like, I'm just here and I kind of love all of it.
Yeah. And it really was, it exacerbated the black sheep story I had in my family even. I mean, to this day, my parents are like, I don't know what you do. And now I'm like, it's okay. You don't need to understand.
My dad is a really smart man. He just knows how to break anything down to the point where it drives me crazy because when he like comes, he'll bring his little notebook, just a teeny little notebook with his pencil, and he takes notes. He takes notes and asks questions so deep that if you were to do like an ideal customer profile, how you need like 72 questions to like really get in there, get it deep and make sure it's like super, super just like thorough, he would be the one to call. But there's sometimes where I'm just like, Dad, please, not another question. But like, I finally think that I explained to him in about 2.5 hours what I do the other day.
That's it.
Just like 3 weeks ago. He knows.
He got it. My dad had an understanding because I did somatic work on my mom when she was kind of in like a health crisis. And he was like, what just happened? Like, what? He goes, wow, I think I kind of get it a little bit more now. Like, to see you in action was just really.
So he actually let me do some work with him. I was telling him a story about how like I had this epiphany around a fear of being misunderstood in the dynamics with my man and how it like led to the body of work that I'm working on right now and all my research. And he's like, oh, I have that. And I was like, what? And he's like, the fear of being misunderstood. And he's like, that just came up between him and his new wife, number 5 or 6. So like relationships have been a thing for him, have been difficult for him. And I was like, well, and he goes, but I know why. And I was like, okay, why? And he's like, it was because of like his last wife. And I was like, doubtful. But like, I was like, are you willing to see? And he's like, okay. So I actually got to go in and like do subconscious work with him. And by the end, we eliminated the fear. And I was like, so now what do you know about being misunderstood? And he goes, I know that eventually I'll be understood again. And I was like, exactly. It was so cool.
Wow. He got to experience something new and different. And that's how you know something shifted.
Absolutely.
So
like
cool.
Do that with our parents is rad. Okay.
Mom is nuts. I tried and she was, she's like, am I doing this right? Which a lot of people actually ask with somatic work at first because it's literally like learning a new language. But my dad got to witness it. So that's pretty cool. You got to do it.
It was fair. I wasn't expecting it. I was like jumping around after I hung up. I'm like, coolest day of my life. Oh, yes. Like, Okay, wait, before we get in, I mean, this is about a part of the conversation as we lead into like what's working. But how do you explain yourself when you meet someone new?
It's so hard. I have to read the room, right? I have to, what kind of room am I in? Am I in a room of head types
Yeah.
and doing types? Because if I start going into the body and the nervous system, it's
Yeah.
like deer in headlights. And I don't think it's because they're disinterested. I think it's because I can go into
Mhm.
expert speak pretty quickly. And they're just like, I want to track with
Yeah.
you, but I don't know what the fuck you're saying. So I might say I life coach. I'm an interpersonal coach. Because if I also lead with trauma, sometimes people will
Right.
be like, I don't have trauma. It puts up like a defense mechanism. Or I need something to be wrong with me in order to work with you. Actually, things can be going very, very right. And that's exactly
Yeah.
why we should be working together to keep that, to normalize and neutralize like new levels. Um, and to be our best version every day and feel like it. So it's not because that you're broken or something is wrong. So I don't really lead actually with a bunch of the trauma stuff and the somatics. It's kind of a popular buzzword that's come up. Um, but yeah, life coach, business consultant, and advisor to top leaders. That kind of is pretty simple. Otherwise, it's like,
It's so
"Ooh,
hard.
hello,
I swear I
get
try
checked
something
out."
new every time I meet someone new. And I'm just like, watch to see what
Yeah,
lands.
yeah, it's true.
Yeah,
And you have to read the
absolutely.
room, how they can
Absolutely.
hear me.
Okay, so
Mhm.
let's get into it's 2026. People are ready for growth again. They're ready for momentum. And the climate has changed
Mhm.
and the strategy is different. And so, how, like, take me into your brain. How are you thinking about that? What's the lens that you're looking at the world through right now when you're thinking about actual growth?
Yeah, the nervous system. Since 2020, and I spent a lot of time writing about this and really researching how we have shifted as a result of the collective
Yeah.
trauma of 2020. It's the post pandemic hangover. People have, I don't know if you've noticed this, even from someone who didn't buy into a lot of the narrative around COVID. I was not getting the vaccine. Like,
Right.
I just kind of watched. And you know, I watch now though, there was like the six
Yeah.
foot social distancing thing. And now I've noticed that people stand a little further away. That has
Mhm.
psychologically changed us a little bit. Even myself, I've noticed I stand a little bit further away
Right.
because we're all affected by it. Right. And so that's just one thing. But then you take what I call global exposure trauma, which is we have these amazing phones that connect us that get, you and I get to do this amazing podcast. We've met through the ethers of the web so far, hopefully in real life one day. But that's amazing. But also, this hyper connectivity can actually lead us to feeling way less connected under the guise of connection and factor in that we know everything terrible happening in the
I
world
think
all
about
at
that a
once,
lot.
all the time. There's a fire here.
Yeah.
There's Epstein files.
Right.
Is he alive? Like, and then it's just so like our nervous system is not wired beyond that
Yeah.
small tribe and small community. And so it's a lot of stimulation. It is a lot for a lot of nervous systems, and everyone has different responses to
Right.
what overwhelm looks and feels like. And so even if you don't participate in it, you're consuming it. Even if you don't watch the news, someone is posting a view. It's everywhere. It's inescapable if you're on social media. And that can wear on our nervous system. We also have a window of tolerance. And what the window of tolerance represents in somatic work is what is tolerable to be with. Think of it like a cup. And so this is kind of the opposite of what we always learn. It's like fill your cup and then from there you can give. This is a different kind of cup. This cup is everything that is like happening in your life and everything you're committed to, everything you're consuming, everything you're watching and recording in the imprint of your beingness. And slowly the cup can start to fill up. But then what becomes tolerable suddenly becomes overwhelmed. You don't want your cup to run over in this kind of experience or in this example because it's where we start to like lose our shit, quite frankly, or feel overwhelmed at small things, but because the cup has compounded and over time, a lot has accumulated. And so it's important to do the clearing and the release work so that you can start to empty your cup, metabolize stress, and do the inner housekeeping in ways that you don't even know that it's accumulating dust and cobwebs in the corner. So the nervous system, if that's the state of being of most people, Suicide rates went up during COVID, drinking went up during COVID. People were alone at home, isolated out of the offices, the corporate. I was brought in to talk about mental health for corporations because people were like, what do I do with myself by myself? And then slowly Zoom became the thing. So now people are sitting again, but not really in person with another person's nervous system, taking in all the neuroception that occurs. And we just slowly drift away from actual deep in-person connection. So all of those factors influenced how people buy. But then there's the economic component. Money was printed and people had more money and more time. So what did they do? They invested in more things. A lot of people saw a boom in their coaching and consulting business as a result, myself included. It was like, great, I'm going to sign up for this thing. It was very easy to convert. The buyer cycle was super condensed. There was high trust because it was like, what else am I going to do? As a result of that, though, what we see is then there's other traumas that happened. Could be little traumas or big traumas. It could be like an acute experience, or it could be a collective of things. But let's say someone made a bad investment. Coach didn't know what the fuck they were doing. They became an overnight coach I call them a COVID coach. And then I made a bad investment. They didn't deliver on the promises, but now it makes me nervous to invest moving forward because I don't trust you and I don't trust myself. So we see that now. We see the buyer cycle take a little longer. People want to go on more dates with you for guac and chips before they get metaphorically
That's how
married.
Keith and I fell in love. Guac and chips.
So
cute.
That's so cute. Yeah. National Margarita Day is coming up, I think. That's funny. Yeah. So people are they're being more discerning, which I think is amazing.
I agree.
It's amazing. It's actually a gift for those that are fully in integrity. But how do you meet people in a compassionate way of where they're at? And then you add in AI, they don't know what the fuck they're looking at and if it's even real. I mean, photos, news events, big structural systemic things people are questioning now. That's a mass type of discernment. It's on macro and a micro level. So people's buyer antenna are just, they're just more sensitive to things. So what we're seeing, and our good friend Leanne Mosley has been tuned into this for quite some time. I think 2022 is when I spoke at her Rich Clean event. And that was around the time I really saw her double down on the micro offer. I think she calls them like tasters or something. But I really think that was such a smart and kind of ahead of her time thing to double down on that because it's the guac and chips. But it's like several dates of guac and chips before they're ready to jump into a higher ticket offer. So your buyers they're watching you, but they're not making the move faster because they want to get to know you first. They want to learn to trust themselves again. And they want to know if they can trust you. It's not because people are interested in what you have, but it might be because your ecosystem is lacking that big part, right? I come from selling $80,000 and $90,000 packages. I actually find that to be quite easy, especially in the former market. We're seeing now a different kind of evolution and experience that people are wanting. They want to quietly consume you with distance. And with somatic work, we create healing with distance and time and space. So they're like, I'm going to control the distance for a little while. And I'm going to just watch you from afar and quietly consume you and maybe buy your $7 thing or your $27 thing or your $497 thing before I decide if I'm going to metaphorically marry you and jump into your 6 or 12 month high touch container. So that's, another way that we're seeing it. I also am seeing, because slowly over time, people are actually, even though they say they want connection, they don't really want it right out of the gate. So no longer are you seeing the DMs of, hey, like, what got you into coaching? I see you, we both live in Alaska or whatever. Like people don't even answer anymore. There's an automated expectation because we're in an immediate gratification Amazon Prime moment. And the nervous system now, with lower attention spans, we're down to 1.9 seconds for attention spans, and an increased expectation for automation. Even though they want connection, they don't want it. They want the PDF they said yay to on your comment that comes immediately into their inbox without talking to anybody while they quietly stalk you and silently consume before they decide how they feel. And they want it right then. Well, because we have to capitalize on the attention, which is already way less of a window than it ever used to be. back when I worked in advertising, it was you have 7 syllables to get somebody's attention on a billboard as they drive by. Probably like
You're not
3 now.
wrong.
Or they might miss the billboard because they're on their phone
Exactly.
while the passenger
Exactly.
princess.
Yeah.
So
Okay. So for
yep.
somebody who's like, all right, I need to think about my business a little bit differently. I'm on the low ticket taster train or the micro offer. Everybody calls it a little bit different. And that's been really, really beneficial for my business as well, to give people, like, especially new people coming into my world, but the majority of my business previously was built off of, like a $3,000 offer, but I wasn't doing very much private work. I wasn't doing masterminds. I was taking on, like 4 or 5 private clients. And now I'm doing one mastermind, but no private clients. Because I really, for that reason,
Yeah.
actually,
See?
is like I've noticed that like people do want to experience, I love like the guac and chip metaphor, before they have anything that's going to require intimacy. You're right. There is like a level of like trust that people have lost in themselves. And I love that you mentioned that. And I would say, like, for me, I think one of the most brand building things that I've done is double down on assisting people and restoring trust in themselves. Whether I'm taking them through a technique, I don't think that's required, but I think by me just telling them, I trust them to trust themselves. And like in a variety of different ways. Like, what would you say?
Mhm.
How would you say self trust has impacted your business, and what do you do about that?
I don't know how you could have a business without trusting yourself, to be honest with you, because there is a level of, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, and I have to
Yeah.
trust whatever this next move is intuitively guided. Like, I have to trust my gut. You don't fail, you just learn, right? And I think entrepreneurship is just a series of pivoting, experimenting, learning, repeating. Nobody really has it figured out. Everything is in seasons and cycles, and we are just listening to what the nervous system collectively is saying to us. How can we compassionately meet people where they're at, but also build a nervous system, build a business
Right.
that's nourishing to our own nervous
Say more.
system, right? Wouldn't it be so loving to have recurring revenue on lower ticket stuff while you also maybe serve
Yeah.
the higher ticket client? It does require just a little bit more
Sure.
options, I feel
And,
like, for people.
I think that was one of the things that I was so grateful about using 2020 all the way through probably 2023 was like creating a variety of different offers. See what I like, see what stays with me, see what like is my zone, and
Totally.
letting that be kind of like fuck around and find out years until I knew what was true to me, and then building, options for that where people can come in at, a low price thing, and start to come on a customer journey
Yeah.
with me.
And if you've been in business for any period of time, like 10, 15 years, it's really just like, okay, I'm going to shift my energy and focus here. And then in a few years, you're probably just going to shift your energy and
Yeah.
focus here. And then you're just going to oscillate because the market's going to shift. And especially as people all start to do the same thing, then it'll shift again because everyone's doing the same thing. And then it'll kind of go back. Are seeing this with, if you think about, I mean, I come from old school,
Yeah.
like ebooks, and there was like direct mail and cold
Yep.
knocking on a door, you know? I think that some of that may end up coming, like, I actually got, I'm not kidding, a postcard from a coach. She did direct mail, but like no one's doing direct mail because at one point everyone was doing direct mail. So my point is,
What are
everything
some of the
has
other cool
different
things
seasons
that
and
you're saying
cycles.
that you're just like, that's creative, that's cool, I felt that, that's interesting?
Ooh, it's really hard to get my attention with new things. What have I seen that's really interesting and innovative? I think anybody that, if you create a touch point where you send a gift to somebody, they have a tangible experience of you. And that for me never gets old. Maybe because the love language of mine is receiving gifts. But when people gift something, I always think about how it makes me feel. I feel thought of and considered when I'm not with them. I feel like it's just the extra step, and a handwritten card, like, I'm all yours, So where you can just love on people by giving them a gift and an experience. Like, what does that touch point look like? I always laugh because I think of in Bridesmaids where Kristen Wiig opens up the invitation and like a butterfly flies out. And she's like, are you fucking kidding me? You know, you're like, but how can you, that's our experience. Like you don't have butterflies flying out of a box, but what could be something that's an experience of who you are as a coach and a consultant in a new and different way? I think that's ad space, but I also think it's a connection point. There's a great book called Bluefish or Bluefishing by Steve Sims about that.
There's another one about gifting that I can't remember the name of it. I can't promise you I read all of it, but I read some of it years ago. But there is something about like the tangible thing. That's one thing that I've always done from the beginning is I love to give away like cool pieces of merch for almost all
Mhm.
of my programs. And for me, what I liked about doing that was and I always did it with like mantras or something that somebody would want to wear. So like one of our favorite hats, not a penny from pressure, only pleasure, is like worn around the world. But the cool
Mhm.
thing about that is like if you know Andrea Crowder, anything, any of my programs, any of my slogans, people are starting to like see each other in the world. There was this time where a mom who lived in, I think, nowhere, Idaho or something like that, just like out in the middle of nowhere, Walmart's the hot spot. And she opened her door to welcome her daughter's friend. Her mom was dropping her off. And the mom looked at her and she's like, is that an Andrea Crowder hoodie? And she's like, how the hell do you know Andrea Crowder in like the middle of nowhere? And I was like, that was always the dream. Plus, I don't know what it is, but like preparing a physical product gift bonus always makes me so excited to sell it because I'm like, I can't wait for you to get your gift. And like, the course is great. The course is great. But like the gift,
Yeah.
I'm a gift giver.
It solidifies like following your yes. When somebody has the courage to sign up and commit their time and their energy to transformation, it's a really intimidating, very tender, like transition point, actually. And so I love celebrating the yes energy of that and saying, like, here's something to celebrate you following your yes. And also it gives them like peace of mind after they've just given money to somebody on the internet, right?
Yeah.
That they hope is not an AI video at this point.
Right. I know.
I'm a real person.
One of my friends teaches people to create like AI products and just sell them on areas that they don't know much about. And I'm like,
Oh
please,
no.
please,
Yeah.
I was just watching one of his videos yesterday and I'm like, I love you so much, but this is what's wrong with the world right now.
Yeah.
Okay. One of the things that I feel like you're probably like amazing at, I'm saying probably only because I know you well enough to know how exceptional and brilliant you are. And I also haven't been in your world as like a paying customer. But I always like to think like if I'm going to bring someone on a customer journey, like I want to give them a quick win. Like what
Mhm.
are ways that you help people like know, okay, like this is working or like how do you even think about like when I deliver a first offer for someone, like what's the impact you want to make or what are the things that you think about so that you help solidify that trust with someone after purchase?
Well, I get really clear on what it is they say is a would be a win for them.
Mhm.
Like it may surprise you. It may not be I want to completely change my life 180. It may be like I want to be more confident. I want to write my next book, but have it be about me, and I'm terrified to do that. Um, you don't know until you. So we do a whole assessment intake that's very thorough, and it's like pages and pages long. And I'm like, grab a cup of tea or the drink of your choosing and have a seat and drop in because I really want you to take a current snapshot and sit and think about if my life were completely changed or one thing was changed, what would I consider to be a win? Because then I can keep that in the back of my mind as I reverse engineer things. But my thing is like, whether you're coming to our in-person events that are just the one day, it's kind of an amuse-bouche, the Champagne Club, or you're coming into our Apex Leadership Advisory, which is the 6-month group, or one-on-one, my goal is always that you leave changed. You don't come into our world and I don't want to take you to church. But you go to church to get some inspiration, you feel good, but then after Sunday's over, you find yourself in the same week that you're in between Sundays. And I don't want to just take you to church. I want you to leave forever changed because you experienced something new and different and that has been healed and now you're forever free from it.
Mhm.
So, however and it's a lot of different ways. Like sometimes it's making more money, sometimes it's connecting to the money they already have, using their voice. And I think one of the most surprising things is that women, even at multi-million-dollar levels, were serving at multi-billion-dollar corporations. They all have growth edges because we all have a
Yeah.
nervous system. So everyone's working toward their next whatever, you know.
Hmm.
But yeah, it manifests differently. So quick wins. I could give somebody a quick win in an hour. We could sit, drop in, do somatic work, and then I would ask them, and I love how you framed it earlier, what do you know now? I would ask you, what's different?
Yeah.
Is anything different as a result of what you just experienced or what happened for you? And then I would let them anchor it in their words. So from day one, they're really getting a change.
Thanks for reflecting that. And if you guys didn't catch what she was talking about, it was in regards to like the question that I asked my dad, which is like, what do you know now about being misunderstood? And that's how I always know, like, okay, the work is done, because how he reflected back to me being misunderstood was completely different, and it was safe for him,
Right.
or neutral or irrelevant or like whatever. But sometimes I'm like, oh, do I do a great job of that in my digital programs? Like, what do you know that's different now? So like,
Yeah. Well, you can also have people do like a positive evidence journal because esoteric
yeah,
work is really unique in that it doesn't always show up right away in the external of this. But it's
right.
like, okay, well, looking back at this point, if it's a 6-month program, I would say the first 8 weeks, and then you do the next 8 weeks, and then you do the last. So just built in reflection points where people can say, what do I notice that's shifted now as a result of this work? Or where am I now based on where I was? So having them reflect on that and being built in is super helpful. And then collecting evidence. What what's changed? I had one woman who's lost 75 pounds in 6 months with me, or 7 months. And we didn't do any dieting.
Yeah.
We just let go of shit that wasn't hers.
I see that all the time in nervous system work. It's so cool. Yeah.
Yeah, it was awesome. That one was pretty tangible, but there's other ways that our work has been intangible. And so we have to give intangible experiences tangible words.
Yeah. We call that Stacking Club or Go Me Club. And we always say, be a motherfucking FBI agent looking for evidence in which you are winning.
Yeah, our brain will take over otherwise and be like, it's
Yeah.
not working.
Right.
When you say it's not working, what do you mean?
What are the
Um,
things that you think about or do to kind of stay ahead of the curve? Like, okay, I want to make sure that my business is moving with the rhythm of how buyers are shifting. And what were some of the things that you did for your business over the last couple of years as buyer behavior changed in order for you to like grow um and stay with the change?
so if information is easily accessible, it's not going to be things with more information.
Right.
It's also not going to be things that take a lot of time because then they keep meaning to get to it, but they never get to it because they're already out of time.
Hmm.
A lot of people are in that state right now because a lot of people are also experiencing revenue dips and buyer cycles being longer and a trust recession. Not my term. I saw that a few years ago. And so with that, we have to create opportunities where people can, again, go out for guac and chips with us. And so we've actually resurrected some of our older offers, but they're amazing. Like there's no timestamp on them. So one of them is our Millionaire Mindset Meditations. And there's 86 founder focused meditations. If you want to start and keep your meditation practice, because if you can start and keep a meditation practice, even 10 or 15 minutes a day, I know you're not getting the theta state in 30 minutes, but it's doable. It sets you up for success, and you practice installing a brake pad in your thinking so that you can be in the posture of listening. And what does that do? It cultivates trust inside you so that you can make clearer decisions, so that you can practice sitting still, even when it feels like maybe you shouldn't, and then take aligned action. So that's $27 for 86 meditations, for example. Super doable. You get lifetime access.
Yeah.
And what I love is that the meditations are 20 minutes or less. And we've had people do 200K launches just from listening to them.
Wow.
So it's everything from, they're categorized. So it's like reducing anxiety, like hello, news, this global exposure trauma I was talking about. Yeah, that might be nice to just turn off the mental noise for a moment between the ears. They can interview their future self. They can, so there's visualization things. There's somatic affirmations, which is different than just affirmations. So taking you through how it feels to let it land in your body and take your time there. Wealth mindset, peace, etc. So yeah, there's a whole bunch. So that's one thing. Another is we are doubling down on in-person. So we actually 3x'd our in-person events this year. I really think, and we're probably ahead of our time, but I think in 3 to 7 years, we're going to see in-person stuff be the hot commodity where people are like dying to be in person with other people because they're so tired of AI and Zoom boxes.
Yeah.
Everyone's creating an AI product, which I think is smart right now, but I'm looking at what's going to happen later. So really, if you haven't run in-person stuff, take it for a spin. It takes a little while to run the reps and get it, have it land. I make it look easy because I've done so many at this point, but figuring out and reverse engineering how you want to create an in-person event that is present and beautiful and curated and niche. And you can do that in a lot of different ways. It could be a multi-day thing, a retreat. It could be we do one day. But yeah, that's what we do. So we have 6 of those this year for Champagne Club.
Oh, I love that. And how big are your events?
20 to 30 women.
Cute. Okay, I love that.
I actually like to talk to everyone in the room.
Yeah. We're God put it so deeply into my heart this year to do some like small dinners.
I love that.
Yeah, I haven't done like in person. I did one in-person event last year, but that was the first since my network marketing days, which was like forever ago. So network marketing really burnt me so hard on in-person events.
I could see that.
But yeah, this year I'm just like, I want maybe like 3. I have one happening with my small group mastermind, and then I want to open up maybe like 3 more for the rest of the year or something like that. But
so fun.
yeah, I'm just like feeling that like craving of like a really beautiful curated event for women where they can get to know each other and just have like more intimacy. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, they're fun. And we added in kind of this, we call it an expansion community because we got feedback after our first one because we just did a dinner for the first event in 2024 and people were like, we want more time together. And I was like, it might be cool to like give people a taste of the experience of somatic work. So we added a workshop in the morning. So the 3-hour workshop in the morning on the same day, then we take a 5-hour glam siesta, I call it. And then we get dressed up and go to dinner at like a closed door private suite. And we've done Miami. I host mine here in Atlanta. And then we have 2 co-host partners that are bringing some other really cool, interesting workshops to our space this year. But it's growing and I'm excited for that to have more legs.
Your naming is top notch, by the way.
What is?
Your name, of course it is, because you've got to be great with metaphors to do any sort of like somatic work through voice at least. But like the glam siesta, like the chips and guac, I'm like, that one's going to stick with me. I'm like, I got to go order a chips and guac ready for my community.
Yeah, I don't even notice I do it, but I'm always like, how can I think it comes from, somatic work is so esoteric. You're like, how do you describe it to people? Because it is a felt sense experience, but if they don't even know what that means or feels like, you're like, geez. So I've just become so practiced at how can I bring this into a relatable, teachable moment? Yeah. Story, words, I think people understand what a glam siesta is. The break, it's for me as much as it is for everyone. So
yeah, no, instantly. I was like, yes, I want that. I know exactly what it is.
Fun to have you. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it sounds so fun. Definitely. Keep me up to date on all your dates and locations this year.
I will.
Keri, what is one thing, I know you mentioned your meditations, like, is there something specific, like just taking this conversation into account that my audience would just like eat up, thinking in terms of chips and guac? Like, what would you want to share with them?
I mean, yeah, it depends what kind of learner you are. Like we definitely have the auditory with the meditation. So if you are you like to have someone between your ears and guide you on a meditation, you're looking to start your practice, I really think you're going to get a sense of how I teach, how I coach, how I speak, the cadence, my energetic imprint. again, you can quietly stalk me and experience me without having to invest like 5 figures in something. So that's a beautiful program, and it works, and we have results on that. But Substack is also somewhere new that we're navigating. Again, thinking of our low ticket taster menu. I think that's probably a Leanne term, but I love long form, and this is where long form goes to live, not
Yeah.
die. Most social media platforms, it's what are you creating next? How fast it has a very short lifespan. But if you're someone who enjoys long form and writing and reading, and you want to sit with me and have a cup of coffee, I will make it worth your time, and you'll sit and we'll have a cup of coffee together digitally through our weekly newsletters and thought leadership articles. But then we also have, this is what you were on, Andrea. You were on the Founders Roundtable, which it was kind of a live show that we started last year once a month that turned into a private podcast. And so we actually started putting all of those episodes that we ever recorded back in 2024 in a private podcast on Substack. Substack's so amazing. It has this like audio feature, but you have a
Cool.
visual. So you can watch us all converse and have conversations, and Andrea is going to be inside there. So that's a super fun way to consume as well, and hear founder stories that are like real.
Okay, I'm so glad you said that before we wrapped up, because long form has been so deep in my heart as well this year. I'm just like, I can't keep, number one, the short form content's pretty awful for us from a psychological perspective, from like,
Is what yep.
yeah.
We're up against attention spans. We're up against an algorithm. So it's both.
And it's changing our brain and not for the better. And so just like, even from a health perspective, I'm just like really thinking about like how I want to show up, where I want to show up in the future. And I was thinking like new YouTube strategy for me, which isn't a platform I've really tried to grow on ever, but now all of a sudden I'm very interested and excited. And I love the idea of Substack. The way that you just said that, I was like, yes, I want to go pick up my cup of coffee and I just want to like sit there and read. And like, it sounds romantic and nourishing and wonderful. Yeah. I'm like,
I tell stories, I give value pieces, insights, advisory, somatic strategies, all of it in there. And I ask myself before I sit and write it, God, let this be a newsletter that is worth somebody's time and a cup of coffee.
yeah.
So they can sit with me. And people write that all the time to me in my emails and in responses now.
Yeah.
Substack's new. So we've been there 3 weeks on Substack. We have 1 paid subscriber so far, but I'm
Oh
like,
my God.
cool.
I'm about to
this is
change that
so
for you.
fun.
I'm so excited. I'm signing up and I'm about to sign up my whole community. We're all going to do it together. You guys will all DM
Great.
me
Come join us.
when you guys get the new
We're gonna-
episode, or the posts, not episodes, but like you guys DM me and let me know what you read.
Yeah, we've had Lori Harder has been on Founders Roundtable. Vina Jetty, who's done $1 billion in multifamily assets. Tracy McCubbin, who's actually a former client of mine. She's starting a franchise with Declutterfly, like a house cleaning thing. And we've had all kinds of multi-passionate, dynamic women in all different industries. My thing was, I don't want just coaches and consultants. While coaching has changed my life and the work that you and I do is amazing, it's really diverse. Like next month, I have Maston Kip coming on for a special edition healing. Yes, it's going to be fun. Just amazing. There's amazing stories that we get to hear. And it's just cool. So you guys can tune in and you can binge that.
Okay. Influenced. I'm so excited.
Yeah. Guac and
Guac and chips. Yes. No one's ever going to forget that. You guys, thank you. Keri, thank you so much. Where would you like for people to follow you? Of course, I'll link all those things below in the show notes.
Yeah, we're pretty active on Instagram at I am Keri Ford, Keri like the lotion, Ford like the car, and elevatewithkeri.com has pretty much a lot of our links as well. But you can always DM me if you can't find something. Happy to send it your way.
Beautiful. Okay, you guys, you know the drill. Keri was here of her own free accord, sharing all of the things that are actually working, making her money, building momentum in her business, staying with the trends, leading trends. I love your comment on long form content, especially. That's like a good takeaway of like really just affirming that this is like the area that I'm really, really passionate about as well right now. So whatever value you got, number one, share this episode with a friend. Number two, please send Keri a DM and thank her. Just send all the love from the More Alive community and let her know that we appreciate her sharing her value, her wisdom, and her energy, love, and gifts on our podcast today. Keri, thank you so much for being on.
Thank you.